I just want to say thank you for joining this sacred gathering. My name is Vandana Atara Ora, and I'm the host for today, the moderator. So I'm taking a little break from facilitating my own work and really welcoming you to welcome my dear sister, Mai Kai, or Janet, whatever is easier for you to pronounce. And I'll tell you about this beautiful soul in a moment, but first I just want to really come together in this state of grace, in this sacred space, and welcome everyone to this feeling of coming home again, this beautiful Huna adventure from the safety of your own home. So my friend Mai Kai is a beautiful soul and mentor with Aloha International. So I'm supporting these empowerment teachings with you, and I'm really glad that you were able to find the time to attend. So feel like you'll get a lot out of today's talk, and really hopefully this will provide a sense of hope and inspiration and empowerment as well, especially during this timeline of such great uncertainty and instability. So thank you, and thank yourselves also for being here. So what we're going to be experiencing today in our time together is an experience, going to be very interactive and very experiential. It's about experiencing the living, healing, and living art of Huna Hawaiian Adveenture Shamanism, right? That's a mouthful. And we could all use a little vacation from our staycation, right? So this is about taking an adventure, you know, and thank you for signing up for that adventure. Especially if you're feeling like just really completely stuck and bored, and a lot of people are experiencing such hyper anxiety and really being re-triggered at this time with a lot of old stuff that hasn't been healed or addressed yet. So this is a great thing that you're doing for yourself. So congratulations. So if you've ever been curious about Huna healing or the healing powers and what it can do to shift your mood, to awaken you to greater presence and acceptance on the earth, and this is a wonderful journey that we're going to be taking. I'm excited to also have Mai Kai here to answer your questions, and I'm so grateful for this really empowering, loving, and liberating deep-rooted Hawaiian system, and to learn more about it. So this is, we're really going to be in just a moment exploring the simple, easy, and effective tools and energy processes to help you to really greater embody the state of forgiveness. It just started pouring, and I'm like hearing the downpour out the window, like, what is going on? So this is an interesting purging and purification that's happening already. It's coming down pretty hard with the rain where I am, so I don't know about where you guys are, but this is about really helping you to embody a greater state of presence, inner healing, forgiveness, happiness. It's a big one, along with increasing your feelings of safety, calmness, and presence. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about Mai Kai. And then I'm going to give her the floor and let her take over. So I'll just be here to kind of support everyone in the background and just to hold the space for everyone. So she's going to be going over the basic principles of Huna, the Hawaiian healing techniques, the beauty of this Hawaiian culture, and how to really hold this, you know, energy, how to anchor it, how to embody the spirit of aloha in your daily life, and how to become the embodiment of love and light, right? So you could release, you know, this 3D collective fear and not feel like you have to hold it in your nervous system. So I'll tell you briefly about this beautiful soul. She is a twice ordained shaman. Her first initiation was as a shaman practitioner of a pathway known as divine humanity. Second initiation was as an let me make sure I'm pronouncing this word right. Alakai.
So the answer to that question is yes.
Thank you, which is a Hawaiian spiritual guide. And so my Kai has been walking this path for over 20 years. Pretty amazing. She's traveled all over the world to sacred sites throughout the world, gaining really like firsthand knowledge about the mysteries of life, right? Which is good, really important stuff. So she studied the origins and meanings also of the Hebrew alphabet with its connection to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, which I personally find super fascinating and intriguing. And so she's also published, she's a published author, and she's written 3 books. The names are, if you want to check them out, When Moses Was a Shaman, another book called One God, and the 3rd book, which is entitled When Eve Was a Goddess. So yeah, so let's get started. Just, Kai, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Mahalo. And aloha, kokua. Aloha, kokua means hello, community. Hello, everybody. And for those of you that came in when Vandana was sharing the screen.
Oh, I can share it again if you like.
Because aloha is really an important word.
It is, totally.
So it means, it's used to say hello and goodbye. And it also means love. And you can see the breakdown. The words in Hawaiian have keys, and the syllables mean things, and you can get different layers of meaning by looking at the word. So this is aloha, and we'll be looking at this again because it is one of the principles.
Beautiful. Would you like me to show the other screen, the other image?
Let's wait a little bit for that.
Sure, you let me know.
Right. Anyway, I am delighted to share this Hawaiian knowledge. And I really want to thank you, Vandana, for arranging and hosting this meeting. Mahalo, mahalo. I'm so grateful. And I want to thank everybody else for coming and being willing to listen with an open heart and an open mind. And I also want to note that today is Passover, is the Jewish holiday of Passover. And had I realized that, I might not have thought this was such a good day. But on the other hand, it actually works out perfectly because Passover is a holiday of liberation and freedom, where the Jews leave Egypt, a place of narrowness and constriction, and they head out to the promised land, a land of promise and hope and openness. And Hawaiian spirituality is all about that. It's all about openness and spirituality. So as Vandana said, my name is Janet, and my Hawaiian name is, it's actually pronounced something like Maikai, which I struggle with the pronunciation too. And I received that name when I was ordained as an alakai about 4 years ago, which means an alakai means a spiritual guide from Aloha International. The founder of Aloha International and our kumu kupua, which means basically the head shaman of the organization, is Serge Kahili King. His most famous book, or probably his most famous book, the ones you may be familiar with, is called Urban Shaman. And I really feel blessed that I've been able to study with Serge in Hawaii to learn so much of this Huna. In Urban Shaman, he writes about 2 different main pathways of shamanism. One is called a warrior pathway, and one is called an adventure pathway. Which one do you think the Hawaiian one is? I do want to say that I for 17 years, I walked the warrior pathway, and it is a very powerful pathway. And there are times when you really do want it. In dealing with issues such as, say, fear, illness, disharmony, the warrior pathway tends to talk about enemies and needing protection and fighting and front line. I mean, those are words we're hearing a lot lately. And you want warriors to do work like that. But the Hawaiian adventure shamanism it's a more integral. What we add to the picture of fear and illness and disharmony is more love. more harmony, more nurturing. So our whole vocabulary is different and the whole outlook is different. And I've probably studied this Hawaiian adventure shamanism for as long as I've studied the warrior shamanism. And it's really the path that I've chosen. It was a conscious way, I made a conscious decision that this is really the way I want to live my life, with more love and more harmony and more beauty. That the Hawaiian way is always just so graceful and so gentle. And in fact, when somebody wants to become an alakai, one of the requirements is to go to Hawaii to feel that energy, the energy of the gentle winds, the healing energy, the soft energy of the people. And it's a passion. It's also a passionate pathway. When you set out on an adventure, you're going to find treasure, and who knows what kind of treasure it's going to be. And there's the training that we get is to look for that and how to find it and how to draw it into our lives and enjoy it. Okay, the next part, I'd like to just talk about what Huna is, because I've used the word Huna. Vandana also used the word Huna. The word Huna, similar to aloha, has layers of meaning. The word Huna means secret, but it's not a secret like I can't tell you anything. It's more of a secret like it's hard to find, like the mists of the ocean. It's hard to hold on to. You can't grab its meaning. But Huna also has the two syllables, like the breakdown of the word aloha. Hu is the active aspect and na is the receptive aspect. So Huna it's the wave of energy, the movement of life, almost like a yin yang, like a Hawaiian yin yang. So when we can harmonize with that yin yang concept, it helps us to harmonize our lives, even in times where they're challenging, such as now. All right, so the foundation of Huna, there involves 7 principles. And Serge was adopted into a Hawaiian family, the Kahili family, and he learned these principles, and he learned Hawaiian words that represent the principles. And he put them together as a unit. And I just want to say, as I present these principles, these are not cosmic truths. These are not something that was brought down on high, that we are commandments that we have to follow. These are principles that we follow because we find them to work. They're very effective. They're principles that challenge us to look at our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings, and to see what we can change, to see what we can make better, to see what we can improve in our lives. So the first principle is Ike. And if you want, you can put that up now, Vandana. I have a little chart for you to just see these Hawaiian words. But Ike, in Serge's translation, he translates it into English. And his translation is, the world is what you think it is. And I want you to really think about that for a moment. There it is, you can see it up on the screen. The world is what you think it is. We all have our own beliefs, our own preconceived ideas about things, our predilections, our moods, and all these things affect how we see the world. And how we see the world affects our experience in the world. So the question is, for example, are you a glass half full type of person, or are you a glass half empty type of person? Or are you a completely different kind of person and realize you can just refill the glass anytime you feel like it? What I'd like to do is I'd like to do a little thought meditation to give you just an example to show you how what your belief system in affects what you see. So what I'd like you to do is perhaps close your eyes, but I would like you to imagine that you're walking through a forest. And look around that forest and see what do you see? What do the trees look like? What does the ground look like? What do the leaves look like? Now I want you to imagine that you're a forest ranger walking into the same forest. What do you notice about the forest? What do you see when you look around this forest and you're a forest ranger? now I want you to take a moment and be a real estate developer and look around this forest. What do you notice about the forest when you're a real estate developer? Now imagine that you're an artist. What do you see when you look around the forest? A timber company executive? we won't end on that one, I promise. The last one is a child. What do you see if you're a child coming into the forest? So come back. Come back from the forest. Especially if you were a child, you might be having a good time there, but come back. And see how what your mindset was when you entered the forest. You noticed different things. A forest ranger, perhaps you noticed the health of the forest. As a real estate developer, you would have noticed the square footage, maybe where houses might fit, where you could even cut down trees. Same thing as a timber executive, like how quickly can you get the timber out of there? As an artist, you would be wanting to look at the texture and the colors and the beauty of the forest. And as a child, I mean, you could just imagine like which tree would be the best one to climb? Where could I hang my swing? So each one of these ways of looking at it, and one of the beauties of EK is we can look at it in all these different ways. We can choose at any different moment how it is we want to look at it. So we can approach all situations and we can change our focus. And that's one of the skills of Hawaiian shamanism, is the ability to change our focus in the moment as is necessary for what we want to do or what we want to think about. And among these skills, one of my favorite abilities from this skill is called EK, and it really is for problem solving. And one of the things we can do is say we come into a problem, we don't know what to do. We could say to ourselves, well, what would James Bond do about it? Or what would Mickey Mouse do about it? Or what would my accountant do about it? Like you can think about it, you can choose the focus that you'd like to have, and you can come up with new options for activities for how to handle or how to approach any situations. So, and here's the main point. If you can change your basic assumptions or even your opinions, you can open up new opportunities for yourself. I'd like to do one other exercise with you. What I'd like you to do is turn your head to the left as far as it goes comfortably. Don't force anything. Sit up straight and turn your head to the left. And when you're looking left, see what it is that you are seeing. Like pay attention to the shapes. Pay attention to the color. What are the textures? What are you seeing when you're looking to your left? And then turn your head back forward. And then this next part, I'm going to ask you, it's just going to be done completely in your imagination. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. And I'm going to ask you to turn your head left in your imagination. Turn your head left just to where it was before. And look again, remember what you saw? Look at what you saw. Don't actually turn your head. Just imagine that you're turning your head and look and see in your mind's eye what you saw when you turned your head left. And then what I want you to do again in your mind's eye, turn your head, keep turning until you're facing behind you, all the way behind you. What is behind you? What images are behind you? What textures, what colors? And then when you're ready, turn your head back to the front again in your imagination and open your eyes. And now I want you to turn your head left again as far as it can go, again comfortably. Did you notice that? Your head goes further because you gave your body another message. The world is what you think it is, and you just expressed to your body that it did something you didn't think it could do at first. And that is the whole crux of EK. That's also the same crux of the next principle. It's a good transition. The second principle is Kala. There are no limits. Kala itself means freedom, I'm sorry. It means freedom. And there really are truly no limits to us because we live in a limitless universe and we're all deeply connected. If we were all in the same room together, we would be literally sharing oxygen. The oxygen I would be breathing out would be the oxygen you would be breathing in. We're sharing the technological electricity that's coming out of our computers now. And ultimately we are still all sharing the air. Have you ever been in the situation where, like, either in a car, I know this happens a lot to people in cars, but even walking down the street if you don't drive, where you just have the feeling like someone's looking at you, and you turn and you look, and yeah, they are looking at you. Or you're looking at somebody and all of a sudden they look at you because they perhaps sense that you were looking at them. We have these very deep connections with the people and things also around us. And of course, we do have to have some limits in order to live, in order to be these separate beings with these separate bodies, to be able to have these communications with each other. We have to have some separation. So the way we put it in Huna is separation is a useful illusion. One of the examples that Serge gives that I really like is he talks about playing a game is going over all of we're playing a game of checkers. And if we're playing a game of checkers, there's really nothing to stop me from just flipping over the board, stealing all of your chips and taking them all for myself and declaring myself the winner. Of course, then I wouldn't be playing checkers. By labeling it checkers, we put certain rules on it so that we can play the game. Without those rules, we can't play the game. There's no container to hold what it is that we do. So as long as we understand that the rules are ones that we have chosen, are ones that we have made up, then as long as we understand that, then it gives us a freedom to change the way that we look at things. When I did the head turning exercise, that was also a reflection of Kala, because we thought we had a limit on how we moved our head. But when we told our body we could do something more, our head moved further than what we thought our limits were. So with Huna, we can always be expanding our limits. One of the magics of Kala that I like particularly is that when you put your energy out into the world, whatever it is you put out into the world, you will get that energy back. You will attract people to you, you will attract situations to you, you will attract experiences to you, you will attract whatever it is. If you put out more love, you will attract more love to yourself. And that's the real lesson of Kala. You don't need to leave the image up. Hopefully people have seen it. Okay, the next principle is Makia. And this is probably the biggest shamanic skill, the most important one. Energy flows where attention goes. Energy flows where attention goes. We energize what we put our focus on. So just like I said with Kala, if you want more love in your life, then you want to be more loving. If you find you're unhappy and you're miserable and that's what you focus on, then you'll get a lot more of being unhappy and miserable. I'm going to say this again because it's just so important. You energize what you put your focus on. So it's important to pay attention to what you are paying attention to. There's a story about Thomas Edison when he was inventing the light bulb. that he came up with 10,000 ways that didn't work, that were failures. And when somebody asked him about it, instead of putting it the way I put it instead of saying that they're failures, he put it the way I first put it. He said, I haven't failed at anything. I found 10,000 ways that don't work. So I'm going to go to 10,001. So just think about this for a minute. He had a belief system that supported his work. That's EK. I'm sure everybody else of his era was telling him he was crazy. A light bulb, who ever heard of a light bulb? That's silly. Who can make a light bulb? But he believed it was possible because the world was what he thought it was, and he thought he could make a light bulb, so he kept trying. Kala, he didn't have any limits. 10,000 times he went to 10,001, 10,002. He didn't stop with limits. And Makia, he kept his focus on it. He followed the principles, and so for today, we have light bulbs for that. The fourth principle is Manawa. Now is the moment of power. So here I want everybody to sit up straight with their back straight. Yesterday. I hope everyone's laughing, because I could have also said sit up straight tomorrow. And I hope you're laughing because realize that you can't do that. You can't act in the past, and you can't act in the future either. All you can do is act in the present moment. Now is the moment of power. And this principle brings up memories and how we treat memories. Many of us feel quite hampered by our memories, and especially if we've had traumas or bad memories, as I'm sure many of you are. I am a survivor of violence and abuse. But Huna has given me the tools to release those memories, or maybe perhaps better stated, let me say, to have a different relationship with those memories. Let's just explore memories for a moment. What did you have for dinner the first Tuesday in January? My guess is you can't remember what you had. In other words, what that means is we do a lot of things in the course of a day. We won't remember everything that we do. In fact, we won't remember most of what we do. So what do we remember? We remember the things that have a strong impact on us, that have a strong sensory impact. If you were eating dinner on that first Tuesday in January, and a gunman you were at a restaurant, say, and a gunman ran into the restaurant and said, "This is a stick up," I bet you would remember what you were eating, or at least you'd have a much better chance because something very emotional happened. So memories are very much like a library book. They can change. We don't necessarily remember them. And if you, for example, if you read history books, you'll see people have different evaluations of what happens at different times. And here's the thing about memories. We can't go back to the past and live it again. All we can do is deal with our memories of the past in the present moment. And that's really important. And that's the key to helping us change our relationship to the memories. You know, the psychologists, when they talk about anxiety and fear and something to do, like if you can't sleep or you're having a panic attack, they talk about things such as looking around you and paying attention to colors, to actually touching something, to smelling something, to hearing something, to use all your five senses. And what does that do when we use all of our five senses? It brings us into the present moment. Now is the moment of power. And truly, we can only ever deal with anything in that moment, in this moment of nowness that we are living in. So now is the moment of power. Aloha, which was that first page that you put up, if you want to put that up again. That is the fifth principle. And it is to, Serge's definition is to love, is to be happy with. There it is. In fact, love is the creation of happiness and it's not a side effect. In fact, the test of love is how happy you are. If you notice also that last syllable, ha, ha is the universal symbol of breath and life. It certainly is in Hebrew, and it's in very many languages, especially ancient languages around the world. So another meaning of aloha, which is not listed in here, is the breath we all share. Isn't that beautiful? Aloha, the breath we all share. There was a play a number of years ago. It had a lovely title, and I think a title that resonated with a lot of people. The name of the title was, I love you, you're perfect, now change. That would not be aloha love. Aloha love does not criticize, because as soon as you begin to criticize, the aloha goes away. And I'd like us to just give you an example of this. I'd like to show you another exercise that my dear friend Juta, who's online, hi Juta, showed me how to do. If you want to take off the aloha now, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Bandana. And this is an exercise that Juta taught me. We have exercises we do when people are present, but to do it remotely involves certain challenges. So, and Juta works kinesiology. Did I get that right? Yes, okay. And here is the exercise. To take your hand, hold your hand up, put your thumb in the crook of where the hand bends down, and the rest of your fingers on top of your hand. And the idea is to see if you can bend your hand down. So what you want to do is give your hand some resistance. See, instead of just letting it go limp, give it some resistance and see if you can still hold your hand up. Okay. Now I want you to think about some criticism. Criticize yourself, for example. Give yourself something you did that you're mad at yourself about. And then try it again and see if you can hold your hand up with giving yourself the same amount of. It's harder to hold up, but we can't leave ourselves in that situation. So now I want you to praise yourself. Think of something beautiful that you have done, something you're really good at. So spend a moment doing that. Are you ready? And then try it again and see. You can hold your hand up. This is a really good way to test yourself as well. But so when you throw criticism at yourself, and if this happens, if you throw criticism at other people too, it does weaken you. So the aloha love, the aloha spirit, we don't criticize. If we have to criticize, we balance it by looking for also what's good. And Serge has another really good one for this. He says, if somebody's making you so angry you can't think of anything good, at least when they breathe out, they're feeding the trees with the carbon dioxide that they're breathing out. So whatever you can do to find something good in a situation will keep you stronger, and it'll help your immune system too, because the more your body is flowing, the more the wave of Huna is allowed to move, the more harmony you will have, and the more you'll be able to be in the moment, and the healthier you'll be, and the better you're able to fight off things such as viruses and other illnesses. Okay, the sixth principle. Mana, all power comes from within. There is no outside force. There is no godhood that gives us power, because all the power comes from within us. We can't control events. We can manipulate behavior to a certain degree, but we can't control other people's behavior. But what we can do is we have a choice for what our own response is to any events. It's how you react is your decision and is part of your power. In Huna, we don't think of ideas as right or wrong. We look at them in terms of effectiveness. Again, using Edison and the light bulb. Certainly people at the time wouldn't have thought it was a viable concept. People would have even said, your idea is wrong. Well, he didn't look at it as wrong. He looked at it as, is this effective? Can I figure out a way to make it happen? And by looking at it from that other angle, he did eventually figure out a way to make it happen. Another way to think, it's springtime and all the grass is coming up here in New York. And I love to see when the grass comes up through the concrete. And just think about what that power is. That grass, it's all flexible, and yet it breaks through concrete. I love that. I never pick grass. Certainly never put poison down because I love that. I love to see that. Every time I see grass coming up through the concrete, I bless it because it's just such a beautiful aspect of the power of nature. And think about that power of the blade of grass. That's the power that we carry within us as well. And here's another story from Serge. He was in the Army and he was I guess a private. I'm not familiar with all the Army terms, but he had to go clean the latrines. He was given an order. He had to clean the latrines. Now, he didn't really want to clean the latrines, but if he had refused, if he had taken his power and said, no, I'm not cleaning the latrines, he would have been in the brig. So that wasn't a good choice either. So we thought about what he was going to do for a little while. And he took a very Huna approach. He said, you know what? I think I want to clean the latrines. In other words, he made a decision that he was going to do this willingly and openly. And we can do that in our own lives. A lot of times we have to do things we don't want to do or we feel uncomfortable doing. But if we can change our focus to, yes, this is something I want to do, it'll help us again be in harmony, and it'll help us be in touch with our mana, our power within. And the final principle is Pono. Pono, effectiveness is the measure of truth. The word Pono means harmony, or putting things right. And a lot of you probably know the term Ho'oponopono, which is a very popular term now, which is great because it's a wonderful process. Ho'oponopono means putting things right, injecting harmony into an inharmonious situation. To just give you an example of how we show effectiveness, think about what the date is today. I'm sure if I asked you the date, one of you would answer, oh, it's April 9th. And you could even give me the time, right? But then I would ask you, by what calendar? The Jewish calendar is a different date. The Chinese calendar has another date. The Mayan calendar, I don't know if it's still in effect, but it would have even a different date. In other words, it's completely made up. We use it because it's very effective. We all knew when to sign on for this meeting because we had a calendar that we could all share. So having this calendar is very effective. But again, we can realize that this is a rule or this is a system that we've put into place because it's effective, but it's completely made up, completely and totally made up. Another way to look at things that are made up, or another example, is a sunrise and sunset. Think about this. The sun rises and sets, and it's this very beautiful time of the day. But does the sun actually rise and set? If we could pull back to the universe, we would see, wait a second, the earth is rotating. And that makes it look like the sun is moving, but we're moving. So the sun isn't really doing anything. We're the ones moving. And if you pull back even further, you see the sun is rotating too, and the earth is rotating around the sun, and the earth is rotating. You have this very complicated system. But rather than focus on this complicated system every time, it's very effective to just say, The sun rose at such and such a time. The sun sets at such and such a time. In other words, it's a very effective way to look at the world. And that is something that we do in Huna. And this is, hopefully I can do this. This is our dear friend Stuart did this, and he does it so beautifully. So effectiveness is the measure of truth. So say, for example, we're not happy with some aspect of our lives. We can go back to EK. The world is what we think it is, and we can examine our beliefs, and we can change our beliefs. If something isn't effective for us anymore, we can change those beliefs, and we can change them to anything we want them to be because of Kala, because there are no limits. And we do it with Makia, because energy flows where attention goes. And we do it in the present moment, Manawa, and we do it with love, Aloha. We do it with our inner power, and we do it to achieve Pono. So those are the 7 principles. If anybody has any comments or any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, thank you, Makai. Please, everyone, chat in your questions. If you feel a need to unmute your microphone, if you want to personally speak and have your voice heard, you can just go into the participants box and just jump right in, because we have plenty of time. I don't think anyone's really going anywhere. So we're here together, stronger together. Yes, indeed we are. So please feel free to contribute and ask your questions and share your curiosities and your own experiences possibly with Huna healing and what you'd like to know about this process and this healing system. And while we're waiting for people to do that, you could also chat in. There's a chat box, so you don't have to actually unmute your microphone. You could just simply kind of send an instant message. So at the bottom of your screen, for those that are unfamiliar with the Zoom room, meeting rooms, so you just click on chat, and you could just go to the everyone box or to Janet's name. But I think the everyone box is good, so we could also see your question, and because we all learn from each other. And chances are, if one person has a question or a curiosity or a heart share, then chances are that a lot of you are thinking the same thought or have the same question or curiosity. So while we're waiting for that, let's continue.
Hi, Vandana.
Hello, Radiant
Hi.
Ron. Aloha.
Greetings. I just wanted to thank Janet and you and the ladies that were praying last time we met on the Huna Zoom meeting. My loved one, so to speak, she's like 102 years old. She's well. That prayer went to her and it really happened. She's up and her voice is louder than mine. And she really got the healing. So that day, I wanted to thank you. It made my heart so happy. I just had to let you know our prayers really affected somebody. She's just like you ladies, very loving, healing person, and she affects a lot of people. So thank you. She's a good lady, like you. So thank you for that prayer.
I'm so delighted. What he's talking about, both Vandana and Ron came to what is called a Kakua group. And a Kakua group is a Hawaiian service group where we use Hawaiian tools of healing to both to heal ourselves and to heal other people. One of the beautiful things about shamanic healing is when you do the work for somebody else, you heal yourself within. The point of a Kakua group is, to look for beauty and to look for blessings that we can give to ourselves and to other people. And like we saw in that exercise with our wrist, when we can focus in this way and send that energy out, it does affect people. And it has a big effect. It has effect. But either of you like to talk or say something about the Kakua group?
Yes, absolutely. I really received a lot from this support space, especially God knows we all need additional vibrational support, and that everyone's affected by this present state of affairs in the world. And so for me, being an energy healer and a teacher, I'm always leading others and facilitating healing activations for others, and giving to my son, and my family, my friends, and my students and clients. So for me, it was such a refreshing, really like a breath of fresh air, to actually allow myself, to give myself permission to receive healing, to receive support, right? And that we all need to create that balance and harmony. Like Huna is about harmony, the pole, right? And so I loved it. I received just a lot of peace, just feeling like, just more supported, and just feeling more of a sense of community, which we also need to have that, sense of family, especially for those who live alone, or those who are struggling or feeling quite lonely and isolated, self-isolating, right? And locking down, being in this lockdown state of affairs, social distancing, especially now more than ever. And I create this space for others, but for me to actually just sit back and not feeling like I have to do anything except just be there, be present, and receive the healing as it was flowing through me. That was amazing to me. We worked on my brother. It was recently his birthday, and I just feel like I've just been kind of tapping into like his higher self and my higher self, and we've been working it out, in the other planes of reality. I haven't actually heard from him yet, but it has been like 9 years. So I'm not expecting like, this instant gratification, like, oh, he called me or else it doesn't work. I'm trusting the process. And I feel like this is a big part of Huna healing as well. So thank you so much.
I did want to say that it's a very experiential experience, because there's these beautiful, beautiful tools of Hawaiian healing, and it gives us a chance to study them and to experience them and to strengthen them and how we do them. So the Hawaiian healing work is just very powerful, and there is an opportunity. I'll be continuing with classes if anybody is interested. If you'd like to learn some of these techniques, if you'd like to practice some of these techniques, we do have, I'm delighted to share them with people, because the world needs them, and I think we need them as well.
Amen. Amen, sister.
Any other questions?
Just go ahead and click the chat box at the bottom of your screen, if you're on a phone or a computer, and we'll be notified. We'll see the orange box lighting up if you do have a question, but no pressure. That's not what Huna healing is all about. It's quite the opposite. But you could always contact Janet Makai at any point. She'll be sharing her website and email address. And actually, we'll do that toward the end of the call. But go ahead.
No, I could just show you. I have wasn't an opportunity today to get into the 3 selves, but it's a very important part of the functioning of how we work and the functioning of Huna healing. So I just thought I'd share the statuettes on what they're based on briefly, if there's time and people are interested. This statue is Ku. Ku is, if you think of it, the 3 selves can just a Cliff Notes version would be considered maybe the superconscious, the ego, the unconscious. So the Ku is the unconscious, where the memory resides. It's not exactly the same, but it's the closest. And you see the Ku statue, the eyes are closed because it looks into the unconscious. It has hair that touches the ground. because it's very sensory. It is a sensory. It takes in information by sensory experience. So that is Ku, and that is something that you know, as we go forward, is something we'll be looking at more closely. This statue is Lono. Notice the big, this would be our consciousness. I said ego, but I think more consciousness might be a better way to say it. It has the big headdress because of the mind, because it's in the mind. And the hair, it doesn't go all the way to the ground. And the greatest decision, it's our decision maker, and the greatest decision that it has to make is where to focus our attention. It helps us. Remember what I said, pay attention to what you're paying attention to. The Lono is the key to how that works. And then we have which is, mine is a small one. This is Kane, which would be the superconscious, our higher self. It could be Amakua, and it's an uncut stone. It's part of nature. And we don't have a concept so much of a God, well, not so much, we don't have at all, this concept of a God that directs us or guides us. We call it our Amakua, our higher self. And finally, the integration of the three is Kanaloa. Notice Kanaloa has the braids that all go to the ground, the tall headdress, and the wide eyes, and the fish. It has the fish mouth because Kanaloa is considered the Akua, or in English more like a god, the god of the oceans. And this is something to delve more deeply into, and how these selves can help us work with our healing our energy and healing our woundings.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. That really hit home for me, and it just really, the symbolism, the beauty of this Hawaiian culture, this ancient Hawaiian culture, is so intelligent and wise, and we could learn so much from it about, you know, how to be happy, healthy, and wise. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
And one last thing, Judah suggested that we look at the coronavirus from the 7 principles.
Great idea, Judah.
So maybe she can, she's having a little trouble with her connection. Yeah, she just left again.
Yeah.
We can look at this. I'm going to unmute you, Judah. Okay, so maybe we can go through this of the 7 principles. We can talk about the coronavirus and the 7 principles. Okay, so the first principle, the world is what you think it is. I think one of the important things about the virus is we need to have common sense. This is a virus that can really hurt people. But if we're so fearful of it that we can't function, if we can't go out because we can't live our lives, even if we're living them differently, then we create so much stress in our life that it creates more potential of illness. So the world is what we think it is, and we think about this virus and our relationship to it. If we can approach it without fear, with care and protection and caution, but without fear, it will help us to weather this time. I have a new message. I'm not mastering this technology, sorry. Okay. Akala, there are no limits. You know, life is magical. There is magic. And, you know, this virus came from somewhere and will go back to somewhere. And we do have immune systems that do fight off viruses. So Ike Kala Makia, energy flows where attention goes. you know, if we're watching the news all the time and we're looking at, well, looking at some of the ugly facts, I'll just say, the challenging facts, you know, that can put us into a fear cycle or a stress cycle. So this really is an opportunity to practice Huna in a different way, to pay attention. You know, we're in New York now, and spring has been really beautiful. I hope people have been noticing that. The flowers have been coming out, the birds are mating. In fact, I don't know if you've noticed, I've looked away every now and again because this beautiful bird will fly. I have a window out here. So to really pay attention to with beauty, to send our energy, to choose where to put our energy. Go ahead, Judah.
Yeah, I just think you have to really consciously do that, and you have to decide to do that, because otherwise you're just so influenced by all the news and all the images of the virus. If you don't consciously do something else, the fear will just grab you again and again.
Yes.
And the most important thing is really to get rid of your fears, because this strengthens your immune system. It doesn't make you maybe healthy, but it helps you helps your body to help himself.
To give us the best outcome that we can have.
And so this brings us to the next principle, Banava, because now it's a moment of power. You have to decide, and then you have to change the focus.
Right, in the moment.
Yeah, in the moment, yeah.
And to do so with love, to have a loving presence, because that does help our enjoyment and our happiness, to have more of a loving presence.
Mm-hmm.
And also, go ahead, Judah.
Yeah, sorry, I just thought maybe I jump in. It is also that you don't fight the virus. Don't be afraid of it. Don't make it an enemy, because the virus is not a person, and it's not an enemy. You can really fight and hit it and smash it, and then it's gone.
Yes,
It doesn't work like this.
We'll let the researchers do that. We don't need to do
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So we just turn towards love, and that means if you don't know anything else, look at the blooming trees, look at the birds, look at persons you love, look at babies, and that helps you to come back into love.
Yes.
Sometimes it's really hard because you always have to decide it, and you have to choose it. You have to do it. And that's not always easy when you feel so tense and you're afraid.
And Pono, and if we follow these principles, we will find ourselves in more Pono. We will find ourselves in more harmony. Mm. So those are the 7 principles. Thank you.
You also feel it when you are relaxed. You just feel it by breathing. Mm-hmm. And when you feel that it gets more tense, then think about it again. What really holds me back from being happy? Yes. The fear does not bring you anywhere. Mm-hmm. It just brings you into fear, and that's all. And that's nothing worth. Yes. It kills your time, that's all.
Awesome, Jen Hara. I see that you, we were talking about birds at the same time, huh? Very nice.
Yep.
And that's the magic of Kala. There are no limits.
Exactly.
Okay, we're at an hour, so how do you want to,
Well, this was, first of all, I want to thank Juta. Very, very helpful, very beneficial information. And thank you for bringing it up, to make this connection, to connect the dots, you know, because the coronavirus is a mystery of life that we have no control over, but we do have control over how we choose to respond instead of react or overreact or be triggered by something or be in fear of something. So as I say, what you resist persists. So we want to just be in the flow of Huna, you know, Huna healing energy, like the waters, the calming waters. So let's see if does anyone have a last minute, thank you, Janhara, anything that you would like to ask the beautiful Makai before we say goodbye? For now, anyway. Just go ahead and chat in your questions. We'll just hang out for a few more minutes. But right now, I think, would you like to share how people can get in touch with you?
Well, I did send you that sheet. Are you going to give that to everybody?
That will be later in the email that gets sent out by my assistant. But for now, you could just chat it in. Yeah.
Well, why don't I type my...
Yeah, please do. So people know how to get in touch with you later.
I gotta get to every, let's see. So, let's see.
Yeah.
I don't know how to get to everyone here. Everyone publicly. Okay, let's see if this works. So I'm typing in my email. No, it just went to, okay, wait a second. Wait, okay, wait a sec, try it again.
I can help, but see if you could do it. It's pretty easy.
Okay, I think I got it. Now feel free to contact me. I will be doing Huna Talk sessions if anyone's interested. My Kokua groups I don't have a lot of room in them because they are by their necessity small, but there can be a few spaces if people are interested. And I also could do also a few spaces for private counseling if anyone's interested.
And would you like to just share again for the people who joined us late in the talk, what the meaning of Kokua is?
A Kokua is a service group. So we did that at the end. So I think most people would have, but it's a service group that uses Hawaiian tools and healing techniques to send energy, to send energy out into the world for healing and for helping people. And in the process, we help ourselves and our community.
Yeah, I love that I believe it means love light.
Not Kokua, the love light.
What is the word what is that?
La'akia.
La'akia means
I'll write
love
it
light.
in the box, yeah.
Yes.
Box. It's so beautiful.
And it's a good way to sign your emails too.
Okay, maybe.
La'akia, love light. Love and light. You know, that's what we say in the Reiki community. Love and light. La'akia. So awesome. Yeah, thank you. And I don't know if you want to just mention your website or,
I'll put that in there too.
Yeah.
One of the other things that I do is I study ancient Hebrew. And from that, I take a look at the Bible because ancient Hebrew is based on Egyptian hieroglyphics. And hieroglyphics are pictures. And so they're picture puzzles, they're rebuses. So ancient Hebrew words are picture puzzles. And I study them, and by studying them, you can understand the words differently that are in the Bible, and it gives a whole different meaning to what the Bible is saying. So one of my favorite ways to do this quickly is the word Eve in Hebrew means life. It's Har, Hawa. And what's the name of the tree that she's forbidden to eat from? That would be the tree of life. It was her tree. And think about how our lives would be different if Eve willingly gave us this fruit to nurture us. That it wasn't that she was disobeying a commandment, but it was her gift to us. Because then there is a whole tradition of Isis and other Middle Eastern goddesses of living in trees and providing nourishment for their people. And Eve was one of these goddesses. And somehow it became a curse. And I think that changed the course of history when that happened. So I like to look at those patterns. And my website goes into that in the books that I've written.
Awesome. Yay. This was so amazing, fascinating. And thank you so much for your knowledge and these teachings, these ancient teachings. I've always been fascinated by the symbolism also of the Hawaiian healing and Karuna Reiki. Somebody mentioned that they also have taken Karuna Reiki courses. And I feel like there's definitely a symbiotic relationship between the two philosophies. So that's really cool. It's beautiful. So, so if we're all good, do you want to maybe lead maybe a, like take us through a closing ceremonial prayer or a blessing for everyone, especially right now with the level of anxiety on the planet. I think we could all use some prayers.
This is what a closing we often do, and it's just very beautiful. There's 4 lines. The first 2 lines I'll say, because, but the second 2 lines I'm going to ask you to repeat with me. But the first 2 lines that I'm going to say, just sit back and listen to the Hawaiian syllables because they're just so gentle and lovely. So here it is, Amakua, my ika po waiola. Hoikea, my ikeola. And what that means is higher self, that's the Amakua. Higher self, bring these blessings from the other side of the veil and manifest them here on earth. So again, that's Amakua, my ika po waiola. Hoikea, my ikeola. And then the ones I'm going to ask you to repeat with me, the first one is Amama Uanoa. And what that means is, so let it be without limit. So do we want, maybe we could unmute everybody? And I know it'll be noisy, but why don't we unmute
Yeah,
everybody?
Let's try that and see how that goes.
Let's see how it goes, yeah.
I'm going to unmute everyone, see if we're all here. And of course you don't have to do this, but I am going to unmute everyone and just have a little fun here.
And I just wrote it out
Oh, good. I was going to ask if you could do that. All right.
Okay.
I think we're all unmuted.
Okay, so you ready? So, Amama Uanoa.
Amama
Uanoa. So let it be without limit. So let it be
without limit.
Lele wale akala. Lele wale akula. Akula. Lele wale akula. What that means is, what we do is we hold our hands as if it's a bowl. And lele wale akala means let it fly off and manifest. So we say lele wale akala, and we blow it, let it fly off and manifest. So you ready? All together. Lele wale akala. Lele wale akala.
Lele wale akula.
Mahalo.
Wow, that was so beautiful. So does anyone feel inspired to share how they're feeling right now, or any remaining questions? We went over the hour by just a few minutes, but I think we're all good with time. But just in case, we want to respect everyone's time in case you have a million other Zoom meetings like we all seem to be having these days. Yeah, so I just want to, we'll just wait for a moment and just say thank you, everyone. And I'd like to just also share, also if you wanted to get in touch with me for any reason, I'm just gonna give you my contact information as well. And please stay in touch. And we're gonna have like weekly, they're called New Earth Ascension Global Telesummit shows, where I'm going to have, I would love to have you on again, and I would love to invite everybody to learn more about the friendly, benevolent, Christed cosmic ETs, the Arcturians and the galactic doctors and celestial surgeons and all of these beautiful, benevolent, kind beings that that I bring in every week on my calls and classes. So I hope you'll join us for that, for this show. And we'll have other beautiful speakers like Makai, and hopefully she will say yes and come back on the show again and lead us through some more really beautiful, heart-opening processes like you were able to do for us today. So I just wanted to thank you. Thank you, Ellen.
Mahalo.
Mahalo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Heather. Yeah. Wow, this was really, really fun. So I just want to let everyone know and say thank you again, mahalo. And we'll be sending out a thank you letter from Makai with a couple of PDF attachments that are printable, so you can continue learning more about the Huna healing processes and exercises. And remember, don't be shy if you have any questions for Makai. Please, you have her email address. Just reach out to her, and hopefully we'll see each other again in the very near future. And we just send a big, beautiful burst of beaming, benevolent, bright, white light energy, diamond light, crystal light energy, platinum light to the entire planet, to all beings. And we say, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. May all beings be happy, be at peace, and be free and liberated from suffering. Thank you. Mahalo. Beautiful. Thank you for being here. Take good care of yourselves. Be safe and be well.
Have a good rest of your day.
Yes, thank you. Have a beautiful rest of your day. See you soon. You'll
Thank
get the
you. Have a
replay
blessed night.
also, so don't worry about it if you missed any of it. I'm going to be sending out the replay too. Thank you, everyone.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Transforming the world.
Bye.
Yeah.